Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Leviticus. We're looking at the first few chapters of Leviticus, the sacrifices given in the tabernacle, the offerings that the Israelites were commanded to bring before the Lord. We've looked so far at the burnt offering, and we've looked at the grain offering. Today we're looking at the third offering prescribed in Leviticus, what is called the fellowship offering, sometimes referred to as the peace offering. We find the instructions for it in chapter 3 and also some instructions in chapter 7. We're going to read actually a few verses from chapter 7, verses 28 and following about this fellowship offering or this peace offering. Now, this offering is different from the burnt offering. In the burnt offering, the entire animal was burned upon the altar. That's why it's called the whole burnt offering. All of it is consumed on the altar. But in the fellowship offering, or the peace offering, only part of it is consumed on the altar. Part of it will be given to the priest, and part of it will be retained by the person who brings it. Now, you'll bring as with the other offerings, you'll bring it to the tabernacle, you'll lay your hands upon it. It stands in your place. It will be sacrificed. Blood will be splattered around the base of the altar. And then notice what happens to the meat of the offering. We're in chapter 7, verse 28. And the Lord said to the Israelites, anyone who brings the fellowship offering to the Lord is to bring part of it as their sacrifice to the Lord. With their own hands they are to present this food offering to the Lord. They are to bring the fat together with the breast and wave the breast before the Lord as a wave offering. The priest shall burn the fat on the altar, but the breast belongs to Aaron and his sons. You are to give the right thigh of your fellowship offerings to the priest as a contribution. The sons of Aaron, who offer the blood and the fat of the fellowship offering, shall have the right thigh as their share. From the fellowship offerings of the Israelites, I have taken the breast that is waved and the thigh that is presented, and have given them to Aaron their priest and his sons as their perpetual share from the Israelites. So you bring the fellowship offering, the animal is sacrificed and divided, the fat is burned on the altar. That is the sacrifice to the Lord. The breast and the thigh are given to the priest as their portion. They are to cook it and eat it as a feast before the Lord. And the rest of the animal belongs to the worshiper and his family. They are to prepare it and they are to eat it as fellowship with the Lord. So see, the fellowship offering, also called the peace offering, comes out of the fact that we are in relationship with God. He has given us peace and we are in fellowship with Him. So this offering is not so much a covering for sin as just a recognition of the fact that we are the people of God and we are in communion with Him and we are in fellowship with Him. And so when you bring the offering to the Lord, only a portion, the fat, is burned on the altar. A portion, the priest and his family engage in a fellowship meal of thankfulness to God. And the family of the worshiper, they cook the rest of the animal and they are involved eating it, and thanksgiving to God is raised. They are in fellowship with the Lord. So the fellowship offering is a very different kind of offering. It recognizes we are in communion with God and we fellowship with Him over a meal. In many ways, it is similar to fellowship meals in churches today. You know, a lot of times after church on a Sunday morning, we might have a fellowship meal together. So we come and we worship, we make our offering of praise to God, and then we gather as the church body and fellowship together over a meal, expressing that we are in communion with God and with each other. It's very similar to what the Israelites were doing in the fellowship offering. They come to worship the Lord in the tabernacle. They make sacrifice to the Lord. They raise praises to Him. And then they have a great fellowship meal. The family, the priest, they fellowship together before the Lord over the meal. So this kind of offering is a very special offering. It is thankfulness to God for all His provision, praise to Him for what He's done for us, and recognition that we are His people. We are in fellowship with Him, and that fellowship is expressed in a meal together as part of the sacrificed animal. So this fellowship meal was a vital part of the life of the Israelites, to bring offering to God, to worship Him, and to share a meal together in the tabernacle precincts as recognition that we are the people of God. So a fellowship offering is all about being God's people and being in communion with the Lord and fellowship with Him and with each other. And it's still a vital part of the church today. We don't bring an animal sacrifice anymore, obviously, but we do bring the sacrifice of praise. And we often have fellowship times together to remember that we are the people of God and He is among us. And we praise His name in those times of fellowship. And so the Israelites have the fellowship offering or the fellowship sacrifice. Hope you'll join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study. Now, next time we'll start looking at the sin offering. Now, this is what we most often think about these offerings in the Old Testament, how they cover sin. And the sin offering is for that particular reason. And we'll look at that tomorrow. I'll see you then.